Hi, I'm Marilyn, the two-tip lady, who loves to help make your life more simple. Do you ever feel absolutely overwhelmed? Like everything depends on you, that you're absolutely necessary to the success of everything, that you're completely and utterly indispensable? Then these tips are for you. They've served me really well over the last few years. Are you ready for tip number 1? This is for you, even when you're feeling completely overwhelmed. Here it is. You might wonder about this one, but have a think. If it's to be, it's up to me. What? When I already feel overwhelmed? And the next part of this tip is, if not me, who? And if not now, when? Oh, that's a big tip. Let me read it again. If it's to be, it's up to me. If not me, who? And if not now, when? Yes, indeed, if it's to be, it's up to me. So how on earth is this going to help with the overwhelmed feeling? Well, if it's really up to me, then why don't I just get in and do it? Do the last thing that piled on top of my load and threatened to make me cave into that overwhelmed feeling. Just do it. I've discovered that if I want to get rid of the feeling of overwhelm, I just have to get in and do it. And the feeling of accomplishment will replace my negative feelings. Are you ready for tip number 2? Here it is. 3 words. Do it now. What? How on earth can that stop me feeling overwhelmed? Well, because taking action replaces that overwhelmed feeling with accomplishment. Like a little story? Here it is. A few days after Mum's funeral, Dad had already gone to rest a few years before. I was standing in their home, feeling completely overwhelmed and alone. There were decisions to make every way I turned, and it just seemed too hard. Even my husband wasn't there. Suddenly, a message alert rang on my phone. It was a message sent by a very young grandson at the time who was doing what little kids do. He was fiddling with his mum's phone. And he'd come across this poem recited by my dad in his last year. I'd love to let you hear it. I actually have a recording of it, but I'm just going to recite it. This is what was on the message when I picked up my phone that day, and it was in my very own Dad's voice. Here's what he said. If you have a job to do it now. If you're sure the job's your own, just tackle it alone. Don't hem and haw and groan, but do it now. I'm sure you're going to understand how at that very moment that was a poem with a message that I really, really needed to hear. And so astonishing that I should hear it in Dad's voice just at that time, while standing in their dining room feeling totally overwhelmed. After hearing that poem recited to me by Dad, I did just what he told me to do, and I started tackling the job. So what is tip number 1? If it's to be, it's up to me. If not me, who? If not now, when? And tip number 2, do it now. I have found a blessing in Psalm 61:2 whenever I feel overwhelmed. This is what it says. From the end of the earth will I cry unto thee when my heart is overwhelmed. Lead me to the rock that is higher than I. And I've often loved to think about what it would be to be led to that rock. What is the rock like? Well, when I'm in the shadow of that rock, when I practice my 2 tips, problems simplify and overwhelm simply evaporates. Why? Because 1 Peter 5:7 says, He careth for you. And that's so true, I've proven it. Do you think that God had his hand on the little fiddling hand of one young grandson that day? I do. I had encouragement that day from both my dad and my Heavenly Father. So what is tip number 1 again? If it's to be, it's up to me. If not me, who? If not now, when? And tip number 2, do it now. These tips are simple, but never guaranteed to be easy. But if you put them into practice, your life will become more simple and overwhelm will not strangle you again. guaranteed. That's it from the Two-Tip Lady today, who loves to help make your life more simple.